Have you ever sent your crew out to do a job? You give them all the parts, you give them the prints, you give them a walkthrough, and somehow they still find a way to screw it up. I've been there. And let me be the first to tell you that it's not a people problem. One particular job a few years ago taught me this lesson, and it was really that you can have a perfect plan, but it means nothing if you don't have systems in place to carry that plan through. Quite a few years ago, we had this install job. It was supposed to be pretty straightforward. Removal of one system, put in a new system. Well, we get there, everything's shipped out. I should backtrack and say we prefabbed everything in shop. We had it, everyone checked it, or the foreman at the time had checked it. It was all good to go. It had even been sitting in our yard for a couple of months before the install actually happened. So we were well prepared. It was well planned. We had very thorough prints. Get out to the job. And that's where everything started to fall apart. It was pretty frustrating. We get there, people start asking, well, where are these parts at? What are we doing here? Hey, what's the plan for how we're going to run these hydraulic lines? What's the path? What's going on here? And so all these questions start coming up, and I started to realize there weren't any systems in place to help walk this job all the way through. Is just well planned. So we had the parts, we had the people, we had it all checked, but when it came to install, it was not going well. People were like trying to figure out, well, how does this piece go together with this piece? This was a pretty intricate machine, I guess you would call it. And it was well beyond what anything we have done before. We were really stretching ourselves. And when you're stretching yourselves outside of what you normally do, that's where systems are really going to be glaringly obvious when they are lacking. Because this was a nightmare. It kept going and going, but it began at the very start of the job with that simple few questions of, hey, where's these parts? How is this supposed to be going together? And it really bottlenecked down onto one person. And this, I would suggest no one ever go through, because it was literally the worst job I'd ever been on. Now, when I say we didn't fail in any way on planning, I can't say that was 100% true, because there were a few things that slipped through the crack that kind of overlap with systems and with planning. First off, I know we didn't have any loadout check whatsoever. We had all the pieces built, and the foreman was checking the parts that were fabricated, but there were quite a few items like motors and gearboxes and things like that that were never checked for correct operation before they even left our shop. That was the number one thing, is we weren't even sure everything was going to run properly before it got sent out. That was not a great approach on something this intricate, I should say, of kind of more of a machine than a piece of equipment, the way it operated. So the second thing was there was no loadout whatsoever on specifically what needed to go. There was no loadout checklist. And that would have been huge on what specifically needs to go out, what specifically needs to be loaded in job boxes, what needs to go on the trailers, and what needs to be at the job on the day of the shutdown starting, that we need to do this work. There was none of that. And then lastly, I think was the biggest thing was it really, I've seen it happen quite a few times with different blue collar companies, is they get very reliant on very experienced people working for them themselves. If they're an owner that started the business because they're very experienced, tend to really rely on people that are competent and experienced and can just fly by the seat of their pants and get it done and figure it out. And that works on some degree, very small degree, but not on a big scale, very intricate job. There was nothing set forward for what is the points that we're supposed to hit, what's the kind of a job board of what is priority, what needs to happen first, at what time does each thing need to be completed. There was nothing put down on an actual timeline. And that was really where it started to compound over, this thing was supposed to be a 5-day shutdown. It stretched much longer than that, I can promise you. But after about the second to third day, I guess a couple of day shifts and a couple of night shifts, you start to see that there was a lot of priority items that were not hit, that should have been hit, and not everyone was on the same page on what exactly needed to be done first, or what was most pressing to be able to fit everything in within this time. And that was a huge problem. So just recapping real quick, job progress and kind of a schedule, that system alone would have been huge. Loadout, that would have been massive if we just had a loadout on, hey, these are all the parts, these are all the tools, these are all the things that we need to make sure are there and easily accessible, and everyone knows where to find them, because looking for something, you're losing time. If someone's running around trying to find something that's supposed to be there but no one really knows where it's at, a huge time waster. And then third, of course, is we just didn't check all of the equipment that was going out to make sure that everything was going to run operably. But specifically this time we were putting a motor and a gearbox together. We need to make sure that they were going to operate and be able to run like they were supposed to. We had the time. We could have done this in the yard while all the stuff was sitting around. And those are the three things that I would highly suggest that you put into place if you are having these same problems. And when you're trying to expand and scale, you're going to get into more complicated things. And the beautiful thing about systems, why I love systems, why I preach systems, is there's nothing special about them. It's simply a clear and efficient way to transfer information. I believe strongly in people. I don't think most people are incompetent. I don't think that most people can't do a lot. I think a lot of people are amazing at their job and are great. So I want to reiterate, it's not a people problem. If people are given the right information, and you have to have a clear way to transfer the right information at the right time. That's all systems is. Don't let it get in your head as some big crazy thing, some big corporate thing. It's not that. I'm not here to turn a corporation or turn small businesses or medium-sized businesses into corporations, because I think they're soulless at times. I love the small vibe, the family vibe, but they still have to operate in such a way that information is transferred, and that's where systems are employed. So those three items I just spoke about specifically are huge, and I would really suggest you implement them if you don't have them already, is have a job plan walkthrough so everyone understands where they're supposed to be at, what needs to be done, who is where. So when you're there, everyone's on it. Everyone's directly going to what they need to do, and they even get to think about it a little bit ahead of time. Not everyone can just think on the fly and just get it done. They need time to maybe process or think, or how am I going to do this? And most tradespeople generally love to talk it out and figure out, like, hey, this is kind of how I was thinking I was going to do it. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do this. Don't be that bottleneck where you're the one at top and you have all the plans and everyone's going to do your plan. Let other people have input, and I guarantee you it'll go a lot smoother, and it'll take a lot of the capacity that's bogging you down, mental capacity, and it will relieve a little bit of that, letting other people be involved. That's the beauty of small and medium-sized businesses. Everyone's input can actually make this thing run better as long as you've got clear systems in place. So that was the first one. Make sure you've got that lined out where people understand what the job is, what they're doing, what the priorities are, what the timeline is, and where they need to be at. And if they don't have something to do, who to find and what to jump onto next. Secondly, loadout lists. You need a specific list every time you're about to load out for a job on what are all the tools that need to be done. Are they loaded up? Are they properly maintained? If you have downtime, are these things being maintained before they're loaded up? Are they on trailers? Did all the parts and everything make it from your fab shop, from your lay down area to the install point on time? Is there anything missing? Do you got all the nuts, the bolts, everything that you need? Is it there? Has it been checked off and verified by somebody? And do they know where it is? So when someone needs something, they instantly know where to go and can grab it and not just searching around randomly. Clear and efficient transfer of things from one place to the other to be there for the job is huge. And then thirdly, if there's anything that can be tested ahead of time or walked through, practiced on, if it's something that hasn't quite been done before, or you haven't used a specific type of machinery before, has been tested for proper use and is going to operate when you need it to. Nothing worse than trying to have all this put together, and then when you go do all the install and start it over, it doesn't run like anticipated, or it's a piece of equipment you're renting for the very first time and you've never used it before. Maybe take some time to practice on it before you go out into the job so you're efficient and understand what you're doing, not wasting job time trying to do that. Those are the three major systems that I would really suggest investing your time in. So by implementing those systems, what it ended up saving me, and I've seen it help others as well, is that you have a lot less downtime. When things are fitting properly and everyone understands where they're going to go, there's no wasted time, no wasted man hours. That's one of my big pet peeves, I guess you'd say, is wasted man hours. I don't believe there should be any wasted man hours. If you have a correct system in place, everyone should be able to be running efficiently. Obviously, that's perfect world, this idealistic thinking. Not everyone's going to be 100% on time, working perfectly. There will be some downtime, but minimalized downtime is kind of important. And that was one of the main things that really a lot of these systems put in place helped for me. It was much more prepared. They understood what they need to be doing a lot quicker, so a lot less downtime. Everything was there and on the job ready to go. So we started to see that a lot of these jobs were getting installed and completed faster than the time that we said they were. We were doing a lot better. It was more efficient. It looked more professional and a lot less stress in just scrambling, trying to find things, scrambling, trying to figure out how this stuff goes all together. It really made the entire thing run smoother. When it's running smoother, then all you have to do is just keep doing those same things over and over, and hopefully you keep getting the same results. So systems are very boring, unfortunately. They are very boring, but they work. So stick with them. Don't try getting fancy with it. Don't try switching things up because you think so. Tweak small little things at a time if you can, but by implementing systems, you figure out what works, what it saves you. If it's saving you man time, if it's saving you hours, rework, ooh, man, that's a big one. If it's saving you on rework, when people are understanding what needs to be done, they're not doing something that's wrong, and you come over and like, oh, that's wrong, you need to redo that, and they have to redo it. That's a huge one. And material, wasted material. That would be another one if they're doing rework. So there's a lot of ways that you could be saving money and saving time for your business, and it's all in systems, and it's all in boring systems. But when you find the ones that work, stick with them and just slightly tweak them as you go. But I would reiterate, it's not the people, it's the systems. So start putting systems in place. Give your crew and give your people, your employees, give them what they need to be able to succeed. I guarantee you they're going to surprise you at how well they can execute. Other than that, I think that's about it for this video. If you're interested in systems and really like what I've been talking about, stick around and we'll continue to talk about systems, ideas, ways you can improve your small to medium-sized business, especially if you're blue collar. I'm here for blue collar because that's my background. But if there's any ideas or any things that you have or any experience that you've had, go ahead and throw it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to kind of go over some of the things that you've experienced and how you were getting through it. And hey, maybe we'll all learn a little something. But other than that, I'll talk to you later.